Hi, we are ProfuseBeanSprouts, and this is our home gardening app. My name is Aiden. I'm a computer science major. My role was as our developer.
My name is Nitish Raju. I'm also a computer science major, and my role was in data management.
My name is Janaki Nair. I'm a double major in CS and math, and my role was the design of the app. So when considering who our app is for, we had amateur home gardeners in mind, people that are more health conscious, like health conscious chefs, or even someone just looking for a hobby. We wanted to make home gardening more accessible for everyone. So yeah, that was our main goal. So that was who we made our app for.
In terms of what it does, essentially our app is a tool to access recipes, healthy recipes easily, and a tool to keep track of your home gardening progress, quickly jot down recipes while you're tending to your garden, provides detailed information on some of the most common plants grown at home, and also has a bookmarking feature to keep track of your favorite recipes or plants.
And why should you use our app? We provide an easy way to keep all of the information in one place. We keep everything minimalistic and accessible, so you can figure out exactly where you want to go from wherever. And we also show more technical information for those who want to get more in depth into gardening. It will run on any iOS or Android device that is higher than iOS 10 or Android 8 Plus. So we start at the login page where we have our authentication done through Firebase, which I implemented email verification, as well as the ability to reset your password and change your email. And while you're typing, you can also see your own password.
So once you log into the app, you're greeted with the garden page, which is essentially your home page for the app, where you can see what plants you've saved so far. And there's a quick way to add a journal entry. Right next to it is the search page, where you can see all the plants and recipes listed, and you can look them up as well. And from here, you can bookmark plants to directly show up in your garden page.
Next, we have a journal feature. So the journal page is where you can create and edit journal entries. So what you can do is when you create a journal entry, you can take a picture of the plant that you want to track, and then you can track its progress using each of your journal entries. And it also saves the time and weather as a note when you make a journal entry. Next, we have a settings page right next to that. And what that does is it will help you manage your profile, where you can change your name, location, email address. And then you have support. And then we have a dark mode for accessibility.
So I worked primarily on integrating the data that we collected into our app, and this was done primarily through Firestore, which is Google Firebase's database software. And so essentially what this piece of code on the screen does is anytime a user object is updated in the cloud or within the app through things such as adding plants to the garden or adding a journal entry, the function calls on Firestore to get the most current user data to update the user object again. Authentication, on the other hand, is done through Google Firebase's authentication, which also keeps the user data related to authentication updated in real time.
So I worked on the design aspect of the project. I used BuilderX primarily to design each page and add each element that we wanted. And I consulted with all of my teammates before making any of these decisions. But the primary thing that I wanted was it to be as minimalistic as possible. And there was also a running green theme that I wanted in there. So one of the specific things that I did was this function, which checks to see if the system is in dark mode and will set the app theme to match the system. So you can toggle between light and dark mode. And I think this was one of the things I chose to add because of the accessibility feature that we learned in this term in CI 103. So I thought it would be super helpful.
This piece of code allows our users to search and us to filter the available plants and recipes.
So here are some of the tools that we used in our product. So I specifically use BuilderX to help design the whole thing. It's a browser-based design tool for React Native, and that definitely helped me design a lot of the elements and come up with a minimalistic theme that we wanted. And we also use Slack, which is our primary communication tool, and that helped us keep in touch, update each other on if we were changing anything. And yeah, those are the two things that I'll be talking about.
Yeah, so definitely at least me personally, I came into contact with a lot of new tools. GitLab, for one, was introduced to us in CI, and it helped us keep track of our issues, helped us keep track of our Kanban board, and let us know what to work on next, and keep track of what was already completed and what was up for review. Zoom obviously was essential in uh, meeting regularly and being able to have some face-to-face time to discuss issues and possible future updates to the app. Yeah, that's pretty much what we
And for
use.
me, I've got to learn more about Firebase, Firestore, and authentication systems, as well as more in depth into the React Native language. So in our new app, we used React Native hooks, which is pretty exciting. Um, so we're trying to move that way. But yeah, we learned most of these tools, and they helped us greatly with all of our teamwork.
So in terms of individual learning, some of my main takeaways included how to do paired programming, which is something we learned about in CI 101. So since I was a novice, both of my teammates helped me understand a lot of the code that we were using, and that was very helpful to me. Another thing that I learned was how to design an app effectively, some of the important features that I needed to include, and how to keep the theme minimalistic. And another important thing that I also learned was about accessibility, which we learned in this class. And I tried to incorporate that as much as possible. And learning how to incorporate that into the design of an app was also something that I learned.
So I was able to learn a little more about Google Firebase and was able to get a little more familiar with that piece of technology and how to interact with it, especially in terms of updating the database with the data that I collected separately. Um, but in terms of working as a team, I definitely learned how to communicate over virtual mediums, seeing as how we've had to work over Zoom and Slack and whatnot over the course of this project. I also learned how to use Python scripts in order to gather data in the first place. And in using GitLab, I was able to understand better how to write documentation for an app and um, how to keep track of the documentation along with the development of the app, and keeping those pieces of documentation up to date.
And I get to learn a lot more about how Firebase does real-time database updates. So it was pretty interesting. I got to look at that as well as the authentication process, which we used email and the password. So that was pretty cool, and got to check out how Firebase storage works, so that we can upload and store photos and little blobs of text. So that was our main takeaway. But obviously, with the rest of the team, definitely learning to use Zoom and Slack more efficiently, as well as GitLab to communicate and keep track of all of our tasks.
To begin with, we'd like to thank Professors Perman, Augenblick, and Rogers for their valuable insight and teachings over the course of the past 3 terms, and their support in our completion of our project.
We'd also like to thank all of the TAs that helped us, especially our 2 Scrum Masters. And our Scrum Master this term was Nadine, and she helped a lot and gave us a lot of advice during the labs.
Finally, we'd like to thank our peers and classmates for their feedback and questions during all of our sprint reviews. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to our project. We had a lot of fun doing this, and we certainly learned a lot between programming, communication, and project management. So yeah, thank you guys.